She was unaware that he was already gone long before he left. There is a kind of loss that does not knock on the door. It does not send a warning. It does not write a letter. It does not sit you down at the kitchen table and say something is ending here. It just comes, quietly, in the small spaces between moments that used to feel like home, in the way his coffee cup stays on his side of the counter and he does not ask if you want any, in the way he looks at his phone when you are talking, not rudely, not cruelly, just away, just somewhere that is not here, just somewhere that is not you. And you notice? Of course you notice, but you tell yourself you are imagining things. Because he is still here. He is still sleeping on the same side of the bed, still eating dinner at the same table, still saying goodnight sometimes. And so you hold on to that. You say to yourself, this is just a season. This is stress. This is tiredness. This is what long relationships do. They breathe in and out. They have warmth, and then they have distance, and then they have warmth again. You have read that somewhere. You believe it. You choose to believe it. And so she keeps going. She keeps setting the table for two. She keeps reaching for his hand in the dark, even when he does not reach back. She keeps asking, are you okay? Are we okay? And he keeps saying yes. Fine, I'm fine, we're fine. But something in his eyes says something different. Something in the space between his words says something that his words will not. And she is unaware, or she is not quite ready to be aware that he has already gone. There is a particular kind of man who does not leave all at once. He does not pack a bag on a Tuesday morning. He does not have a conversation. He does not say, I have been unhappy, or I have been thinking, or this is not working for me anymore. He disappears in increments. First, it is the small things, the questions he stops asking, the way he used to want to know about your day, not just the facts of it, but the texture of it, the feeling of it, and then one day you realize he has not asked in weeks, maybe months. And you cannot say exactly when it stopped, because it did not stop, it just faded. The way music fades when you walk further from the source, you only notice the silence when you are already too far away to hear anything at all. Then it is the way he stops initiating, not just physically, in every way. He stops suggesting things. He stops making plans. He stops turning to you first. When something happens, good or bad or ordinary, you are still there, but you are no longer his first thought. And she notices. She notices all of it, but she does not call it what it is. Because calling it what it is would mean she has to decide what to do with it, and she is not ready for that. Not yet. So instead, she tries harder. She becomes more present, more available, more careful. She learns the shape of his moods and tries to step around them. She stops bringing things up that she knows will make him withdraw. She makes herself smaller and smoother and easier because somewhere inside her, she believes that if she can just become the right version of herself, he will come back. She does not realize that he is already too far gone for her to call him back. He left long before either of them said anything out loud. There is a word for what she was experiencing. Psychologists call it ambiguous loss. It is the grief of losing someone who is still physically present. It is one of the loneliest experiences a human being can have because no one around you can see what you are mourning. He is still there. He is sitting right there. And yet you have been grieving him for months. There are no rituals for this kind of loss. No casseroles dropped on the doorstep. No cards that say, I am so sorry for what is quietly falling apart in your home. No one holds your hand through this kind of sorrow, because from the outside, from every outside, it does not look like sorrow at all. It looks like a normal Tuesday. And she goes through her normal Tuesday, and she smiles when she needs to smile, and she does the things that need doing. And somewhere underneath all of it, there is this low, persistent ache, this sense that something is wrong that she cannot point to, that something is missing that is still technically here. She lies awake at 3 in the morning and she thinks, am I imagining this? She rehearses conversations she will never have. She rewrites history, looking for the moment it shifted. She tries to find the day. Was it that argument last spring? Was it the holiday that did not go the way they hoped? Was it something she said, something she did not say, something she was, something she was not? She does not know that this is what grief does. It searches. It cannot rest until it finds a reason, a logic, a place to assign the weight of everything it is carrying. And there is no reason that would make it easier to carry. If this story is sitting somewhere in your chest right now, I want you to stay. Subscribe to Mama Amelia if you haven't already, because what I want to do here in this space is tell the stories that are hardest to tell, the ones that live in the spaces between words, the ones that women carry quietly and alone. You should not have to carry this alone. The thing that no one tells you about this kind of loss is how disorienting it is to your own sense of reality. When someone leaves loudly, when there is a fight, a betrayal, a clear breaking point, there is at least a story you can tell. There is a before and an after. There is something concrete to grieve. But when someone leaves quietly, when the warmth simply drains out of a relationship the way warmth drains from a room, you start to doubt yourself. You start to wonder if you are making too much of nothing, if you are too sensitive, if you are the problem. She started doing this. Quietly, invisibly, she began to revise her own perceptions. When she felt the distance, she told herself she was being needy. When she noticed his absence, she told herself she was being dramatic. When she reached for him and found nothing there, she told herself she should reach less. She had learned, somewhere, that her feelings were inconvenient, that her needs were too much, that the right kind of woman does not take up too much emotional space. And so she made herself smaller, and he drifted further, and the distance between them grew, not because she was not trying, she was trying with everything she had, but because you cannot close a distance that only one person is trying to close. You cannot love someone back into the room when they have already decided somewhere in themselves to go. There is a moment, and she will remember it later, years later, with a clarity that almost takes her breath away when she finally saw it. She was not in the middle of an argument. She was not at some dramatic crossroads. She was in the kitchen on an ordinary evening, doing ordinary things, and she looked up and she saw him sitting at the table, and she felt, for the first time without flinching away from it, how alone she was. Not alone in the sense of being without company, alone in the sense that the person who was supposed to be her person had been somewhere else for a very long time. And she had been performing the life of a woman in a relationship, keeping the rhythms, holding the routines, maintaining the appearance of a home, while the actual connection, the living, beating heart of what they had once been to each other, had quietly stopped. She did not cry, not then. She just stood very still and let herself know what she already knew. He was already gone. He had been gone for a long time, and she had been the last to know. What does a woman do with this knowledge? What does she do with the realization that she has been grieving a loss that was already complete? That she has been reaching for something that was no longer there to be reached? That all that effort, all that care, all that quiet, aching love was poured into a vessel that had, without ceremony, run dry? She cries. Eventually she cries. Not the sharp, urgent tears of sudden heartbreak, something slower and heavier than that. The tears of someone who has been holding something for a very long time and can finally set it down. She sits with it. She lets herself understand that this is real, that what she lost is worth grieving, that the relationship she mourned before it ended, that grief was valid, that the ambiguous, wordless, invisible loss of someone who was still in the room was a real loss, that she did not imagine the warmth that was once there, that she was not crazy for missing it. She was in love with someone, and love does not care whether the person you love is present or absent. Love keeps reaching. Love keeps setting the table. Love keeps hoping that the warmth will come back. That is not weakness. That is not failure. That is what it looks like when someone loves with their whole self. The question she returns to in the months that follow is not how did he leave, but who am I now that he is gone? Because here is what no one says about the slow, quiet departure of a person you have built your life around. It does not only take them, it takes pieces of you too. It takes the version of yourself who felt seen, the version who laughed easily, the version who trusted her own perceptions, who believed that what she felt was real, who did not constantly second guess herself and make herself smaller and quieter and easier to love. She has to find her way back to those pieces. Not all at once, not in a day or a week or even a season, but slowly, the way a garden comes back after winter, first one small green shoot, then another, until suddenly there is color and life again where there was only gray. She begins to tell herself the truth. She begins to trust what she sees, and what she feels, and what she needs. She begins to stop performing and start existing. She begins, for the first time in a long time, to take up space. I want to say something directly to the woman who is still in the middle of this. The woman who is lying awake right now next to someone who feels like a stranger. The woman who is still reaching for the warmth that used to be there. The woman who keeps setting the table for two because she does not know what else to do with the life she built. You are not imagining it. If you feel like something is gone, something is gone. That does not mean you have to know today what to do with that knowledge. That does not mean the path forward is clear. That does not mean you have to make any decisions right now, tonight, in the dark, with your heart full of questions. You just have to let yourself know what you already know. Because the moment you stop arguing with your own perception, the moment you stop telling yourself you are imagining things, being dramatic, being too sensitive, wanting too much, something in you begins to breathe again. You cannot heal from something you are still pretending is not there. You cannot find your way forward while you are standing still, trying to convince yourself the ground beneath your feet is solid. Let yourself see it clearly. Let yourself grieve it fully and trust, even if you cannot feel this yet, that the woman on the other side of this is waiting for you. She is steady, she is clear, she knows what she wants, and she does not shrink herself to fit someone else's disappearing act. She is you. She has always been you. She was just waiting for you to be ready to come home to yourself. She was unaware that he was already gone long before he left, but she is aware now. And awareness, even when it hurts, is where everything begins. The table still has two chairs, but she sits at it differently now. She sits at it like a woman who knows her own worth, like a woman who is done grieving the living, like a woman who is, for the first time in a long time, fully present in her own life. She does not know exactly what comes next, But she knows who she is, and she knows that whatever comes next, she will not be unaware. She will see it clearly. She will feel it honestly. She will love again when the time comes, with both eyes open and both feet on the ground and the full knowledge of her own heart. This is not the end of her story. It is the first page of the one where she finally knows what she is worth.